Hey, what's good, what's good, what's good? Welcome to Reflections of a DJ, the R.O.A.D podcast presented by DJ City and Beat Source. I'm one of your hosts, DJ Crooked. We got Jamie the Great here.
Yeah.
Rest in peace to our brother, DJ Never, Never Forever. And, you know, I'm really excited about this guest. We bumped into him for the first time at NAMM.
Yep.
Right? Here in Cali, in what it was, Orange County?
Orange County, OC area. OC,
you know, we was with the Beat Junkies. Melody hit me up. He's like, yo, come through and, you know, host our booth at NAMM. And I got to link up with this very, very talented and groundbreaking DJ. And I was like, yo, would you ever come on the podcast? And he was like, yeah, of course.
I was scared. I was like, I don't think, bro. I used to see him on BT, and I'm like,
yeah.
I was 14 at the time, and I was like, I don't know if he's going to say yes, but go for it.
So this DJ, he's won multiple world competitions, you know, Vestax, multiple ITF titles, you know. He's a member of the world famous Beat Junkies crew. He's also now the program director and lead instructor at the Beat Junkies Institute of Sound. And he's there with, you know, Chalk, Melody, Redmatic, D Styles, J Rock. He's also 1/3 of the hip hop trio Dilated Peoples. Some of the most amazing production, and I've always been a fan of how clean and ill, you know, the scratches were on record for this DJ. I'm pleased and honored to welcome the turntablist, DJ Babu. What's good?
Oh man, that was such a good. I'm not getting emotional over here. That was amazing, Crooked. But hey, before we go any further, though, I have to say, I'm so excited to be here. First of all, guys, and I think I speak for the majority of the DJ community worldwide when I say thank you guys for what you guys are doing. I'm a huge fan of the R.O.A.D podcast, and I really appreciate all these amazing and important conversations you guys been having with, like, you know, a bunch of people that make sense. And I'm a fan. I follow you guys, and congrats on all the success.
I appreciate
shouts out to Never Forever. You know what I'm saying? I wish I actually got here in time to give him his flowers as well. But props to you guys, man. I love what you guys do.
No, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you, man.
You know, it's like it's crazy. When we met at NAMM, I was just like, you're just so like open, and you were just so chill. And I was like, because, you know, sometimes a lot of DJs, they're just like a little standoffish, and, you know, like when they've accomplished so much, they're just, but you were just so humble and laid back. And I don't
know if you could say that about me 20 years ago, though.
Really?
You know, you know, I'm not faulting myself, but, like, you know, it's I think what you're feeling is me getting, you know, not to give it away, but, you know, I am entering my 50th year this year. You know, so I think obviously I changed a lot since, you know, when I was a young buck. I don't know. I probably rubbed a lot of people wrong at Fat Beats, and rubbed a lot of people wrong when I was on the road with Dilated, and I had no clue, and I, you know, just being, you know, less self-aware and being young and ignorant. You know what I mean? But in this day and age now, you know, I can go back 10 years and I learned so many lessons where I'm like, I've met enough of my idols to where I've been let down. My soul hurt, you know, but to later realize and go down, and as I got older and realize, hey man, I don't know what's going on in homie's life. He might have had a bad day. Who knows? You know what I mean? Right. So I'm very appreciative of any light, any love I get at this point. So you have to understand, when I met y'all, I was fanning out. So you know what I mean? I'm like from across the way. I'm like, oh shit, R.O.A.D podcast is here. Oh my god! Like
in 2004, I had a Boost Mobile phone, and let me tell you, this way was my ringtone. So I contributed $2.99 for you. My man. So to me, when I met you, I was like, yo, this motherfucking shit used to be on my phone. So to me, I was fanboying out. I was like, Crooked, you speak to him. And I'm usually the one who speak to people, but I'm like, Crooked, go.
Well, I'm curious, like, when were you, like, when you were younger, was it like a cockiness? I mean, you had to have like a chip on your shoulder. You had to have an ego in order to be in these competitions.
For sure.
All these, anyone, you know, if you're a turntablist and you're doing competitions, you gotta kind of, you know what I mean? You gotta have this cockiness.
You know, I think I was lucky enough in the era I was battling, like, you know, I might be on stage flipping you off, but the second we get off, there's this mutual love and respect. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, you know, after me and Rolly Roll went heads up, and, you know, that was probably the most flipping off I've ever done in a battle. But you know, the moment we did our thing, it was like we off man, you killed it, bro. Hug, pound, dap, like, you know what I mean? So, but I think what drove me was, and you know, you guys can probably relate, but here in Cali, it's like, you know, hip hop in my age growing up was dominated by, you know, Black and Latino brothers and sisters. So, you know, it was almost like I always had something to prove, not being that, you know, I didn't look the part. So it drove me to just work that much harder. And I, you know, if I said to myself, if I ever have a chance to show people what I got, I can't let this stop me. You know what I mean? I gotta make them focus on what's coming out of the speakers and what's moving them emotionally, or you know, move their music senses, and they won't be able to deny that if I just work that hard. So that's probably the chip on the shoulder that drove me. And then also being from a small town, you know what I mean? I was always coming from the 805, which is, you know, suburbia. I was out in Oxnard and Camarillo area, so it was like working my way, getting closer and closer to LA over my formative years. So that chip on the shoulder, being this outsider, and just it was a defense mechanism in the front, just to inside I'm over here trembling, you know what I mean, and scared and nervous and can't eat. But you know, I guess it's that b-boy in me too, you know, just to have that. But it's all an act, you know what I mean? Like, you know, if you actually see me, you know, at school or something, I'm just like a big teddy bear, man. I'm like, you know, but it's part of you're right, it's part of the battle culture, you know. I think it's part of it is to say fuck you, or if you're emceeing, like, diss someone's mom, like, you know, graffiti battles. I mean, we're battling because, you know, my name is Bolt and you write Colt. Like, we got a battle, like, right. You know, and but, you know, I can't speak for all the other elements, but or other eras. You know, I do remember people having beef and being like really fuck you. I mean, like,
on site type of shit.
Yeah, like Rock Raider versus DJ Domination. Like, that was like real. Like, they did not like each other, you know. But I was lucky enough to where my beef was not even beef. It was just straight part of our competitive nature. And right. But I respect everybody I battled against. You know, I'm lucky I got through, I guess. You know, so
I'm curious, what was like your cockiest, most arrogant era? Like, was it the Beat Junkies, like competition era? Was it like the Dilated Peoples, just like hit singles era? Like, what,
it was like toward the end of my battling era. So I think that,
like, the late 90s,
96.
This is after
97.
Like, this is after your groundbreaking Super Duck beats, the break beats.
Yeah, so this is probably like 98. I'm established. You know, I went to a DMC USA. You know, and I could just feel the energy at that time. I worked so hard from going from a bedroom DJ on a local level to get to a national level. It happened really fast. You know, it happened overnight. Like, I went from nobody. I entered my first West Coast DMC in 95. And I entered this rap sheet battle, first of all. This is 95, summer of 95. And it was here at the Roosevelt. So I was just happy to even do a battle in LA.
In Hollywood, to say the least.
Yeah, and come to find out, in that battle is Rap-Matic, DJ Shortcut.
Fucking heavyweights, bro.
Right?
It's all your homies, though, right?
This is crazy. I'll even take it back, like, maybe 3 months before that. I'm out in Oxnard, and we're near the University of California, Santa Barbara, UCSB. And so if you're out here in Southern California, you know there's a big Filipino-American community. And between all the sororities and the fraternities, they would have these big weekends called friendship games. And they would move around to different campuses, and all the sororities, fraternities all gather up, and it's just a weekend of debauchery, right? But within that weekend, they would always have like a DJ battle. So they had one of these big festivals in Santa Barbara, and someone in Santa Barbara who knew that I was a local DJ, they needed a spot filled. And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. Because I'd been just doing like garage party battles, you know, house party battles. And I was looking to do more. So I was like, hell yeah, I want to enter that, without even thinking what it was. I pull up later that evening, and not only am this is my first real battle, I find out Rap-Matic's in it. It's being judged by the Beat Junkies. Shortcut just got back from New York, like, you know, recently from winning the seminar, you know, being in the new music seminar battle, and I didn't realize what I got myself into. Lo and behold, I end up in the finals against Rap-Matic. And Rhett hates when I bring this up, but I actually won. I actually won. There's nobody Joe Schmo actually beat. And you have to understand, I had already seen Rap-Matic on Soul Train with Brotherhood Creed. I'd heard of the legends, Icy Ice and Rap-Matic and Curse. I'd already heard of these guys just through the Filipino grapevine. So I was not, let alone meeting them, I couldn't even believe I won this battle. So I struck a friendship with them from there.
Oh, see, wait. So I thought you joined the Beat Junkies in '93.
No. So I'm one of the later members. So I joined in '96.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, Chalk and I are the last ones added to the crew, and so this is the first time I met them, and I was so excited just to meet some.
So that's when you got on their radar.
That's when I just started getting on their radar. I just made a mixtape. I gave out all these free mixtapes, and so I heard they were all cracking jokes on me on the way home and everything. They're like, he's dope, but you know, like I remember I was wearing all red. They were like, "What's up, blood? What's up, blood?" They were all making fun of me, but you know, but it led to me like I kept in touch with Red. I went to see him and Cerritos.
So it was all love after you beat Red.
Yeah, it was a totally love. You know, Red was like I said, I was like, I'm not worthy. You know, even after winning it, I didn't feel like the victory for me was just being on the same stage and being in these guys' presence. You know, so fast forward a few months later, that's when now let's talk the DMC, the rap sheet battle at the Roosevelt Hotel. And so I got a little confidence from that, and I entered this battle, and not Rhett's in it, but this time Shortcut's in it, a bunch of other crazy DJs are in it, and I go to the semifinals, and I lose to Short. But it was awesome. Like I really put up a good fucking fight.
Right.
Like me and him both had the crowd going crazy, and I didn't care if I lost because we just both got down.
Because it's a moment.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where even if you didn't win, when everyone left, everyone was talking about
for sure
that exchange.
It was beautiful, man. He spanked me, but you know, pause. Even though Short is year wise, 1 year younger than me in battle years and DJ years. He's much older than me, you know? So I was, wow. But when I came off stage, I was hit up by the representatives of the West Coast DMC.
Right.
And finally I found out in time about a DMC competition, and they said, you should enter the DMC West Coast. It's going down next week in San Francisco.
Oh, shit.
And this is the first time I met D Styles as well. And he happened to be standing with me at that time. And he's like, yeah, you should do it, Babs. You can stay at my house. I literally just met him that day. You know, he's like, oh, you should do it, man. We're all going to that battle anyways. We're all going to be at my house practicing, doing drugs, you know.
Allegedly.
And so a week later, I fly up to San Francisco and have the best weekend of my life, hanging out with D Styles and Melody and Curse and Repmatic and, you know, and having the best time just clicking.
Yeah, you broke your cherry, right?
Yeah, you know. You know, then I entered this battle and somehow I get second place, and a month later myself and Shortcut are flying to New York to enter the US DMC finals. And back then, guys, it wasn't like a DMC heat where there's one in every city. No, it was one West Coast heat, one East Coast heat, 3 from each coast, and that was a USA battle. And so that all happened within 6 months, guys. So like, and from there, the guys, before you know it, they're asking me to be down with the Junkies. Of course, I said yes.
They jumped you in.
J-Rock was cool with it, or he had to think about it?
Yeah. How long did it take him to say yes?
You know what? You know what's crazy is, and I think you guys talked about it when you guys talked to the crew. But
J-Rock's known for now we good.
No, we good.
Now we good.
We don't need nobody. I don't want nobody else.
You know, I distinctly remember a point when at least 3 or 4 of the guys like, we got to get you down. But we got to talk to J-Rock. You got to meet J-Rock first. And I remember the first night I got to meet J-Rock, we were all at Curse's house because Curse had the garage hangout. Had all the turntables and shit in the garage, and we'd hang out there. And I wasn't even really thinking about it. I think the guys alluded to things, but, you know, I had no expectations because I really just genuinely just was so happy to find some other DJs I could relate to because I didn't really have anyone in my area. Fools were leaving for the Navy, and fools were more cared about cars or girls and other things. I just wanted to like enter battles and get really good, you know, and I finally found a bunch of people who were on the same wavelength. So I finally got to meet J-Rock after like marinating with everyone else, but man, I guess it was fake because we're like long lost cousins. I mean, like it didn't take less than 15-20 minutes and we were just knee slapping and gassing about whatever, like, and so the rest is kind of history. But one thing I want to say, what's really important on that trip going to New York and entering DMC USA with Shortcut, rest in peace, my brother Rock Raider. I got to, I got to hang with the X-Men, people that I just saw on videotape. I'm going to Rock Raider's crib in Harlem and hanging out with him, Rob Swift and Sinister. You know, I walk in there and I'm doing sound check and I get interrupted by Red Alert. Like, you know, it was like mind blowing to say the least. But really important on that trip is it led me to a little record store called Fat Beats. That used to be owned. I remember Short was like, "Yo, remember how Bobito had that shoe store? Well, he let it go, and now there's a sick record store that we got to go see, man." You know, we went in there, and we walk in, and on their little video system, they're playing the West Coast DMC finals. And I meet for the first time my good buddy DJ Jab, the owner of Fat Beats. And that eventually led to me becoming the manager of Fat Beats in LA a year later, you know? So like that whole time was just a really whirlwind and influential time for me, for sure.
Hey, what's good? This is Crooked. We got Jamie the Great here. We're here to let you know that we have launched our Patreon. And if you fuck with us,
really fuck with us.
If you really fuck with us,
some ride or die shit out
like here. If you a roadie for life,
not a casual.
No, I'll take a casual roadie.
Fuck a casual.
I'll take a casual roadie, but if you a roadie for life, you're gonna go to patreon.com/Road Podcast. That's patreon.com/Road Podcast.
One more time for the people in the back.
Patreon.com/Road Podcast.
Yes.
And you're gonna sign up. And you're going to get an extra episode with this membership.
Yep.
You're going to get early access to episodes. You're going to see behind the scenes vlogs.
Yep.
You're going to see extra interviews that we've never released.
Whoa. You're giving a lot of free shit going on.
A lot of free shit.
No.
Look, this is our opportunity to like further build and enhance our community that we built with y'all. This is like a deeper dive into what we do and what goes on here. And, you know, these extra episodes that we're going to release a month on our Patreon, this is going to go back to kind of the old school Road Podcast where we would talk about all our personal experiences and everything that's going on, from gigs to music to, you know,
the foundation of us.
Everything. So if you want to show support, go to patreon.com/Road Podcast. That's patreon.com/Road Podcast. We'll see you there.
See you there.
It's so crazy because it's like you're saying, like when you're growing up, you had no peers. There was like almost no DJs around. And it was like, that early on with hip hop and DJing and everything, it was so rare to find another person that was into like hip hop and samples and break beats and all of this shit. And so when you met somebody, you instantly clicked.
I mean, it's so funny to think about it, like the amount of time I would spend scratching over the phone to melody or D style. Like, am I doing it right, bro? Really? Let me put my phone down. Could you hear that? Oh no, I couldn't hear anything. Like
you may not know, but Camarillo's about $1.15 from LA, and that's a fucking drive. The only thing in Camarillo is the fucking outlets. A lot of people don't make it up there. So for him to be, I think Mega Man's from up there. I think he's from Oxnard. So there's no real DJs up there.
But it's funny to me when thinking of like hearing him talk about it back then. It was so important when you met these like-minded individuals and you become friends and you guys like relate. And I feel like there's so many DJs and they could be like they're so close to each other and none of them are like meeting up or linking up or anything. Like I speak to so many DJs nowadays and they're like, oh, like we don't even know. There's like no camaraderie. There's no like. There's nothing. There's no community sometimes in the same city. Like no one's really kind of talking to each other.
And you know, and it's hard to complain about it because if we were dropping the timeline now, we'd be up in a chat room on social media before we hit the pavement and rub shoulders, probably just out of convenience and practicality, right? So I'm not so much. I could never be mad at the new generation. I always just kind of look at it like. They're going to learn, but they're going to learn it in a different order. And they might have to make some adjustments and, deal with things that we just, like we never had AI, like, what I mean? All these other things. So there's always going to be a little difference, but, I say to the youth, I embrace it. And I just think sometimes they, like they should step on shoulders and elevate as they should, being that they're the next generation.
Yeah.
I just like a little bit more of a connection with that generation. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I'm not blaming anyone for it, but it's part of the work that the Junkies and I do at the school. Is I feel like that disconnect happens from like it's both the youth and the elder statesman's fault. It's no one entity's fault. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I really do feel as if like I'm connected to all DJs that I think come from the same roots as me. Yeah. Like I can relate to David Guetta. I can relate to Qbert. I can relate to Jazzy Jeff. You know what I mean? And it's not about genre. It's not about the stage you're on. It's really about like us all having this shared similar journey. You know, and maybe you end up in a different place, but like you could tell when someone's really coming from that place of love and really coming from being raised on the culture of it. You know what I mean? So it goes a long way with me, you know, being open-minded to the future.
Did turntablism gravitate to you more because of where you grew up? Was there like not as many like parties, or like I was kind of wondering when you were coming up as a DJ, you know, I always just wanted to be like a crowd rock or party rock DJ because I just saw the parties. And I really like, I obviously I fell in love with like turntablism. I thought it was dope, but I knew at the core I wanted to like be at events and like DJ parties.
For sure.
But like you seem like you just focus completely on turntablism.
Well, I think for my personal journey, like you know, my first influence was rap records and Yo MTV rap records, and
listening to like DJ Premier and all of that shit.
Yeah, you know, even like I still have fond memories of like, you know, there was an era where I always had my VHS and my tape recorder on pause and ready to record anything, you know. And I still probably have these VHS tapes somewhere else, but I remember watching Yo MTV Raps, and I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember, but like there was two kinds of Yo MTV Raps. There was like the weekday in the afternoon with Fab Five Freddy, and then there was the big Saturday morning with Dr. Dre and Ed Lover. And on the Dr. Dre and Ed Lover ones was kind of like ones where they would like be at concerts or live events. And I remember a particular episode they were at the New Music Seminar, and so in between this whole episode there's clips of DJ Aladdin versus DJ Miz, you know, and then that following week, DJ Miz and Aladdin went on the 4 o'clock show, and there were, you know, so those are the things that really influenced me, like coming from that era. I mean, I still vividly remember Herbie Hancock Rocket and just how much that sat with me, and seeing it on Saturday Night Live. And seeing this dude Grand Mixer DXT scratching, and him being like the whole focal point of this whole performance. So and you know, for me, I didn't really run into the party rock. I mean, I did because I was going to school dances and stuff. And I have to be honest with you, I think in my area, I guess I was kind of like, I was already backpacking and being underground and kind of antisocial a little bit. So like, you know, there was a bunch of popular guys who were the popular mobile crew who did all the popular parties and got asses shaken. And it was all love, but there was always this passive aggressive little competitiveness happening. And so I think early on, you know, I tried the mobile DJing thing early on. I had my own little mobile crew. And, you know, after clearing one too many dance floors and me trying to keep it too real, I realized my focus and my strength was being in the bedroom, practicing for battles, making 4-track mixtapes, learning about samples and shit like that. And so I think that's what kind of drove me in that direction. You know, not that I didn't appreciate party rocking, because in my mobile crew, I had guys, even at that point, I could appreciate good blends and rocking a crowd, but I was just fascinated with scratching, you know, and just that whole technical side of it. But that was a beautiful thing about, you know, getting into the Beat Junkies, is just how much it opened my mind to the whole spectrum of what DJing really is.
So like in 96 and 97, would you say those are like maybe some of your more pivotal years in like turntablism and competition?
For sure. I think up to like 96 through 98 is when I was competing heavy, and probably my cockiest, like going back to what you said earlier. That's when I felt the most confident, and I was just ready to go. And, you know, at that time too, I think the confidence just didn't come from the success of battles. You know, in the background, like I told you earlier, I ended up becoming the co-manager, assistant manager at Fat Beats. You know, and that put me in the epicenter of this brewing Los Angeles hip hop scene that was growing.
When did that open? When did you take that?
96. So that was like summer of 96. I moved to Hollywood. Literally moved to Wilcox in Hollywood, which was scary at that time. And I was just full-time working at Fat Beats in the day and gigging at night.
So you were like, man, I'm killing the competitions and I'm running this whole record store. So you was like kind of You was feeling yourself a little bit, right?
You know, I was.
You were finally in LA.
You know what? Nice,
I think I was. You know, I was getting confident.
Yeah.
Far from feeling myself because you know I was still like driving the secondhand Acura Integra and living in a shitty one studio apartment. But
don't get it wrong though. That Integra is dope.
But back then in my mind, I was rich because I was just. I didn't have to work at the gas station anymore.
Right.
I am DJing. I go into my work and I'm surrounded by records. I blow half of my paycheck on records. I go home. I'm surrounded by records. I'm DJing.
So you was at the gas station
before when I still lived.
What was you doing at the gas station?
That was the old jobby job. You know, that was the previous jobby job before.
40 on 2. Yeah, I got you.
Wait, this is when motherfuckers used to fill your tank up, right?
No, not in LA. That only happened like in Jersey and some other states, but not in LA. LA, but you go to the gas station, you tell the guy behind the counter, yo, 20.
Oh, I didn't know that was just an East Coast thing.
Yeah, no, we don't have that over here.
Oh shit, I didn't know.
You guys have luxury. There's not a lot of self-serving.
So it's actually maybe the first time where you're feeling like, wow, like I'm actually
I may have a chance.
Yeah, I might have like these opportunities open up. It's almost like a validation to like I'm on the right path.
For sure.
And this is something I love.
And you know, me being Filipino, like that really sent ripples through my parents. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not
That's true.
You're not gonna go to school to go DJ.
Right.
Like what do you even mean? And you know, but my mom was always very supportive and I struggled in those first few years moving to LA, and as I should. It was good. It was a good struggle, you know, working at the record store, just trying to figure it out. But God is so good, man. You know, like the record store led me eventually to being in Dilated Peoples, you know.
Right. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I'd met R.O.A.D through a mutual friend before I moved to Los Angeles, and he was telling me about his rap group. We had a mutual friend, and this is a funny story, but shouts out to my good homie Chat, and everyone low key, you know, even if they don't know my homeboy Chat. He happens to be the one who owns the chain of Thai barbecues here in LA.
Oh shit! No way.
Exactly. You guys know about Thai barbecue. So shouts out to my man Chat. He was heavy in the hip hop game back in the day, and he was really good friends.
Fucking good ass investment, man.
Yeah, he was
everywhere.
Yeah, he's really good friends, coincidentally, with my partner R.O.A.D. So I remember he introduced us, and R.O.A.D had heard of my pedigree about my battles, and they were looking for a DJ for their group. And so this is like maybe 6 months before I moved to Los Angeles. They actually came out to Camarillo and hung out and everything. So I get out to LA. Evidence and R.O.A.D are literally bringing their first 12 inches to the store to put on consignment. I mean, they're literally going from Rainbow Record Plant and bringing the fresh off the press to sell these records on consignment.
Was it like Third Degree or no?
Third Degree.
Yeah.
And
this is with the Alchemist production.
Yeah. So I didn't meet Evidence yet, you know, and the B-Boy Summit in San Diego came up, and I finally got to meet Evidence. He hit me up. He approached me. He was at the B-Boy Summit. He's like, yo, you met my partner R.O.A.D. Been hearing a lot about you, man, and you know we should get up and fuck around, and he's like, oh, let's exchange numbers, and we exchanged numbers, and he had one test pressing on him. This is the funniest story. I love telling this. He had one test pressing. He was like, yo, not only do I rap, but I produce too. This is Evidence telling me this, the B-Boy Summit. He's like, yo, I make beats, and yo, we got the label that we're coming out on, ABB. This is the first single, an artist by the name of Defari. I got one test pressing left, and I was DJing at the radio at the time on Soul Assassins Radio on the beat. So he was like, you gotta play this on the beat. You gotta play this in your mix, man. I'm like, I'd love to. And he's about to give it to me, and he's like, ah, shit, hold on. And he had a girl's number written on the sleeve of the record, and he had to go run off somewhere to get a piece of paper and a pen. He's like, okay, let me just copy that number down. He's like, okay, now you can have it, you know? And then
just don't call her.
And then, you know, shortly later, like I said, they were bringing records on consignment. They're like, hey, you want to come down to Cut Master Kurtz and do some scratches for us? We got a little show coming up here. And then it snowballed into me becoming the third member of Dilated.
It's such a like small world. Like you were like, how did you link up with the Soul Assassins and all that? Because it's like this whole.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about this whole era of West Coast kind of hip hop.
For sure.
Because it was like the Soul Assassins, the Beat Junkies, and then Linkin Park was kind of emerging a little bit later, right? But it was like all of this was kind of shaping up to what was going to happen in the 2000s a little bit, right?
For sure.
But it was, I mean, obviously Soul Assassins was already popping in the 90s. But it's like DJ Muggs was like, you know, I guess Alchemist was somehow attached to DJ Muggs at the time.
Sure. Yeah.
And then Alchemist like produced the first Dilated People's shit, and then became like kind of the main producers for Dilated People's with Evidence and yourself. But it's like this whole.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Alchemist was in that rap group with
Hooligans.
The Hooligans, and he was opening for Cypress Hills and all that when he was like a teenager. So that's how all that kind of tree comes about.
Yeah,
but it's all like everyone's kind of together. Right?
There's a family tree for sure here, and and if you go back down the timeline a little further, I always have to like give credit to Dre and NWA, for like planting a lot of the mix masters. That's a foundation of the West Coast, Uncle Jam's Army. But moving down the rap timeline, certain movements that were out here that people wouldn't consider West Coast. Or maybe they didn't even know they were from the West Coast when they even heard them. Soul Assassins is one.
Yeah. I didn't even mention the Alcoholics.
I mean, the whole Liquid Crew. Yeah. I mean, the Good Life movement, Freestyle Fellowship.
Right.
The Far Side. I mean, there was a bunch of people like that definitely like laid out the groundwork for us.
I thought Jurassic 5 was from the East Coast when I first heard them.
Yeah, a lot of people.
Like, oh shit, they're from out here.
A lot of people thought so many in our first opening in our formative years. I remember people just tripping out that we would tell them that we're from Los Angeles. They would boggle their minds doing interviews early on. I remember that, but I
remember being weirded out in New York when I saw like the backpack scene in the West Coast, because I was like, is that, I thought that wasn't some West Coast shit, when I saw it.
For sure.
And I almost felt like they were like, because we're in New York, so we're like, are they just trying to create like a East Coast movement on the West Coast?
Nah.
You know what I mean? Like I was just
had our own festivals. We had Pay Dues, which was big as fuck out here.
For sure.
That was one thing. I remember even Merz, when Merz came out, I thought he was from the East Coast as well, because he just sounded so backpacky. I was like, oh shit, he's from out here too.
Yeah, and if you really live out here in LA, there's so many pockets, and like all these movements I mentioned, and even all the gangster movements, like they're representations of the pockets that are around the city,
right?
And and obviously the the media was focusing a lot on the G-Funk and the gangster movement, and people just automatically that's West Coast, and that was just furthest from the truth, and I don't think anyone out here was trying to be like, keep it super real as our, like I said, like, we were watching the Alcoholics, we were watching the Far Side, we're watching these alternatives, because like, not that I was mad at what Dre and Snoop were doing, like by all means, that was a heavy influence as well. But not all of us were living in the hood, and you know what I mean, like, and so when it came to being artists, like Evan, Rock, and myself, we all represented different parts of LA. They're graffiti writers, and Rock's from Mid City, Ev's from Venice, you know what I'm saying, I'm from the burbs, and like, so for us it was always about just trying to be ourselves and not put out some fake facade. But then I have to also think about that lineage. We do have like a lot of personal ties within a few of these camps. I felt like we've always been like unofficial. We got the Liquid Crew just always showed us so much love. The Alcoholics were always just pulling for us, giving us advice as big bros. I can't say enough about Soul Assassins. Like, I mean, like they treat us like family as well, even up to today. Literally, just weeks ago, I have nothing but beautiful things to say about all these movements. But it's funny, Jamie, you said about the whole Alchemist thing. A lot of people don't realize, how long Alchemist has been in the game, like since a little kid,
Yeah.
And he reinvented himself after being in the Hooligans. A lot of people don't know he was producing under the wings of Muggs for a long time, like you said.
Yeah.
And at this time that this is all going on, and this is a funny story, is he went on tour with the Hooligans, and his partner at that time was Scott Kahn.
Yeah, Scott.
So
the
Scott
from Entourage and shit.
Piece of Scott. He's such a G. And real rap cats, like really, they were really doing it. Were really going on tour with Cypress and living that life. And then I think the record deal fell apart or whatever. And so after being a year on tour, here's Al, and he comes back. For missing so much school, they're like, he's not going to be allowed to graduate. And Ev and Alchemist are already best friends at this time. So Ev's like on the sideline, graffiti writer, starting to become a rapper. He's watching his boy go on tour. So he comes back off tour, can't graduate. And Ev, because he had a little trouble in school, was going to this special school like in Malibu.
Continuation school.
Yeah. And this is pretty crazy. They all went to this special continuation school, and they had a pretty popping group. So this is one of these schools where you're paying a lot to get through, and the teachers just don't really give a shit, and you do what you want. But you know, they
give you workbooks and that you just write in the workbooks.
How do you know about this shit?
I mean, I'm from LA, so I know exactly what he's saying.
You went to continuation school?
No, I had a lot of homies. You see, a lot of homies that they into the gang violence and shit, ended up doing some time, and they come out, they're far behind, so they get sent to the continuation school. Right. But they just doing workbooks. They don't really check shit. It's just like, stamp go.
Just, 12 lunch, okay, and everyone just, But anyways, so, Al was able to graduate high school, and, and I think, like, early on, because Evan Rock were tight as well, like, Al just, without us even realizing, became, like, the fourth member of Dilated Peoples in a way. He's been with us through our whole journey. He's always been there to guide it and help, and obviously kick in production, but he was always there supporting us. And you have to remember too, at that time, later down the timeline, he went off to New York and really established himself as the Alchemist.
For sure.
Started rolling with Mobb Deep, started getting really big placements. And he opened up a lot of doors for us when we were visiting the East Coast as well. He was the one that really helped us get a cosign with a lot of people as well too. Just, you heard about my boys Dilated Peoples. They got that shit. You know what I mean? He was always bigging us up. And shouts out to Al, man. That's a good brother.
Yeah, it's when you joined on, and he already did the production for like the first, I guess, like, I don't know, like underground bootleg, not bootleg, but first, like,
independent
12-inch, which was like Third Degree, Confidence, and he did both of those songs, and then Evidence did Global Dynamics, and then from that, I don't know if there was another release, and then you guys got a record deal with Capitol.
So one more. So the next 12-inch was Work the Angles, Main Event, and Triple Optics.
By that time, you were full in the group.
So yeah, I came into the fold during the second independent 12-inch. So we still had one more, the Guaranteed, with the Rework the Angles remix. So like by the time the second 12-inch came out, we were already starting to get courted by labels. Like the buzz on us was pretty good. We had already sold out the Roxy. We'd been flying overseas to do festivals as an independent group, just off the strength of having 3 12-inches. I remember we had 3 12-inches to make a show, and we'd have to use like a lot of other popping new instrumentals and make routines up because we only had three 12-inches in the chamber. So and it was a really incredible time. I remember getting hit up by labels to do a label showcase. Hey, we'd love you guys to come and do a label showcase and show our A&Rs what you got, and we, not being cocky, but we would genuinely say, we would, but we're busy. We're sold out at the Roxy. We could put you on the guest list if you'd like to join us. And these A&Rs would come to our shows with people knowing our lyrics and being sold out. And, and it was a unique time because obviously, after that big whole independent movement of labels like not only ABB, but Stone's Throw, Fondulum, Raucous, all these, and of course our brothers in Jurassic 5 were, parallel going through kind of the same thing. They were killing shows and getting courted by major labels. So, there was this era of, amidst all the shiny suit stuff and stuff we were talking about earlier, there was this really core thing happening that for us we took advantage of that wave and rode it as far as we could. So.
Well, there was this like explosion of like hip hop, but like backpack hip hop, but like at the same time I feel like the turntablist movement was exploding
for sure.
And it was all kind of hand in hand, and it was just like this other option besides like the nightclub, the pop for shit, the jiggy hip hop.
For sure.
You guys were in like another just like category or another subcategory of hip hop that was popping right now.
For sure.
And I was kind of growing out of that. I was going out more. I was going like to clubs and shit. So I was just like, I was starting to be like, oh, like the Raucous shit is dope. Like I fuck with it. And I like obviously there was Black Star and all this shit.
Right.
And but it was also by the time it hit the 2000s, it was still going. And I feel like you guys stood out because some of your records were playable still in the club setting. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
like with Dilated People, some like even on the early side of the night, we were still kind of like running some of those records
for sure. And that was probably a product of us dealing with the struggle of being signed to a label, a major label.
But it felt like Capitol was like really in support of what you guys were doing, right? Kind of, or not really?
Kind of. In the beginning, it was good, and we had a very unique deal where we kept our wax, because it was really important to us at that time, independent. But any digital, any cassette, anything would be on Capitol except for the vinyl. And
interesting.
And we also had like, it was crazy to think of the record deal now. We had an amazing deal, and it was structured really well. But at one point, I want to say after the second album, when it came to our third album, like their true colors really showed. And even between those first two albums, like while our tenure at Capitol Records, I felt like there was a different president every year. So agendas in the building just kept changing. Our A&R, Ron Lafitte, his claim to fame originally was Megadeth.
Oh,
so if you see, so it bugged me out when I saw old pictures of Ron. He looked like a straight heavy metal cat, and he went on to sign Perry Farrell and Jane's Addiction. That was his next big signee, and we were his next. He went to he was the one I'm talking about. He went to our sold out show, and he compared that energy to what he saw in Jane's Addiction and Megadeth, and that cult following we had, and that army of fans that were behind us. And he was always there. He was always there fighting for us, but I can't say the rest of the building always felt the same. And we got a lot of pressure on that third album, and that's why that was our compromise, working with Kanye West.
I think Capitol was trying to get Kanye before Rock did.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, they were about to sign him, and then he went to have the meeting with Rockefeller, and then I guess they turned him down, or they did something to him, and then he's like, yo, does Capitol still have that deal on the table?
That's literally what happened.
Yeah.
And, we used that situation. We kind of parlayed that situation of him being there on Capitol's dime. And, they were kind of whining and dining him and entertaining, signing him. And we took advantage of getting him in the studio while he was on Capitol's dime, while they were trying to court him. And it was like such an amazing time, too, because they had pressure. They wanted a radio song, straight up. So originally they were trying to get us to work with Scott Storch.
Really?
At that time, he was major, man.
Oh, man, we would have loved to have.
Yeah, at that time, Scott Storch was scorching.
I mean, he's a man. But and our next compromise was this guy, Kanye West. It wasn't very known yet. He had done Just to Get By Quali. I think that was kind of like what he was hot for. But Through the Wire was really what was just happening at the time when he was in the studio for us. And he had that groundbreaking music video when he did himself, and we were just like, yo. Dude, I'm going to tell you something, though. The funniest thing to think of now is like he literally was in a studio for us for a week, and that was the week he started trying to get the video played.
Wow.
And all of his downtime when we were in the studio, and this was like a daily thing, and I watched him go to work. We'd be working on a song. Oh, I'm bringing a choir, and we're cutting raps. I'm making the beat. You know what I mean? Like all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And then it'll be like, okay, we're gonna take a little break. And Don C was there at that time too. First time I met Don, and hey, we got a meeting. Hey guys, you don't mind? We're gonna have a little meeting in the studio while we're on lunch. Yeah, cool. And I'd be working in my head. He wouldn't mind. I'd be in my headphones working on something, and I got to watch him. So it wasn't just Capitol he brought in other labels, and they come in and he's like, yo, my new single, my new video. I got to watch him just do this whole pitch, play the video, and rap it to every cat who was there. I mean, literally perform while the video is on the screen and just go in. So confident and so bold, and thank you, that was awesome, we'll consider it, And they walk out. And then kind of, how was that, Don? Was that too much? How was that? Like, so it was really interesting to see him at that point in his career, getting to see him work. And it was an amazing experience. And, and when you say that was probably our one song that, that was the one song that made sense of my life to my parents.
Really? He's on TV.
Yeah.
It's something they can see.
Yeah. I mean, they saw Worse Come to Worse, and that was cool. And, we had some other moments where
Worse Come to Worse was pretty
this way was
pivotal.
National, bro.
But you know what?
Worse Come to Worse was very pivotal. I want to go back to that single, but let's finish talking about My Way.
Yeah, because that was at the level of, for us, like I remember friends telling me, yo, I walked into Macy's and they were playing the video in the teenager clothes section. Like, you know, my mom literally watched 106 in Park. Her and my pops watched 106 in Park for like, I don't know, like whatever, 30 something days straight because we were in the countdown and we're so excited. My mom would walk out of work. She was working in Van Nuys at the time, walked out of the hospital and our bus bench is right there. Or, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh shoot, your album's on Sunset Warehouse, you know, display and yada, yada, yada. So it was a different level for us. And, you know, for us, like, you know, it was like such a touchy thing because of our background. And it was something we always had to struggle with, especially from that after the second album. It was struggle mode with Capitol. And like I said, I can't blame one person or one thing, but it was like there were so many just big changes at Capitol during that time. They merged with Priority, then like new president, another new president. And so we always kind of got like, no one really felt responsible for us. And and so we were able, you know, we're one of...
Can you explain that a little more? When they're shifting the powers and everyone's getting interchanged, it's almost like if I was going to therapy with a psychiatrist and they kept changing my psychiatrist and I would have to like retell my life story. And then the psychiatrist would some psychiatrists would care. The second one wouldn't really care. The third one might care, but then they don't really look out for you. So you were just going through all these different executives and people telling you, oh, we love you guys, we're going to support, and some of them just ignored you guys. So that's what you were going through.
Yeah, you know, and you think about it, like these record labels, it's all about relationships, right? So like not even our personal relationship. What's our A&R's relationship? The guys who make things happen in the building, what's their relationship with the greater regime here? Or what's their relationship with the president? Does the president have his own agenda? Does the president have favorites in his own band? Oh, another label is merging and they're now the hip hop department. Oh, and Dilated Peoples, they don't really fall into our responsibility. You know, so we're always like kind of just
in limbo,
very much independent the whole time that we were signed to a major.
So when the idea of Kanye West was on the table, you guys were excited about it?
Torn, to be honest.
What was the torn?
We just didn't like that energy of them starting to do that classic, forcing us to do stuff, giving up our creative control. And I'm trying to recall what happened, but we had full creative control until that third album. Something happened where some kind of loophole, Capitol was able to take back that control because like we went over our previous budget or like we overspent, some kind of like fine print type of shit. So when that third album came around, they're like, you're doing XYZ or you're not going to get the next installment of your checks. So it became like a little bit of an extortion kind of thing, you know, and we were fucking pissed. Like they literally starved us for a while until we finally came to this compromise because there was all kinds of things on the table, names and can we afford it, let alone is it a good look, and all these other things we're concerned about. And Kanye West was like the best compromise out of this list of people that we were trying to, that the label had connections to or A&Rs had connections to that would work with us. So, you know, so it was, you know, and from that point, after the second album, it just kind of became tainted and it became the classic, like, fuck the label kind of situation, you know?
So, I would have assumed that you guys would have been excited to work with, like, Kanye.
We were. That was our lesser of the evils almost.
Right.
You know, because to us, we're like, dude, we already knew his pedigree as far as beat making goes. Like I said, Just to Get By came out, you know, and if you're, you know, when I was in the loop like that, he was just buzzing, you know, he was like, oh, this is the hot
My
dude.
Way kind of sounds like Get By. It has the choir vocals
for sure,
and the hook.
And you have to understand too, the other names that they're talking about is going with just texture, and it would just be riveting for us to have been with someone like that wasn't some sort of like middle ground, you know. I think Scott Storch is probably like the craziest we could have gone without our fans going cuckoo. Right. And, you know, and it was a lot of our core fans, you know, didn't like This Way, but like the doors it opened up for us, and you know what I mean? And I love performing that song. It's just a charge every time we perform it.
So wait, was there like were you able to pick beats, or was that just
Yeah, he had some beats pre-made, but he made that beat on the spot in our face. Really? It was so dope to watch. You know, the first day he came in, he just played beat CDs.
So then the hook and everything wasn't put together yet.
Nah, I watched.
He brought the choir in.
Yeah, he literally hired a whole choir to come in, guitar players, some other musicians.
Were you guys like, oh my god, our studio budget is going crazy? Or?
No, it was. We actually finagled it that it was on. We had a separate budget because it was on Capitol.
Okay.
You know, we finagled it to where it was like, we're going to work with this guys, but it's going to be on you. It's not going to come from the rest of our budget, right? And so, and mind you, they were trying to sign him at the time. So they were giving him everything. So they were fine. They were very fine with this.
Was he excited to work with you guys, or he
was genuinely a fan and knew about our shit, and he wouldn't have fucked with us unless he had known. He wouldn't just, you know, you would have to throw like $1 billion at him at that time to work with someone he wasn't aware of. But luckily, we were on his radar, and it was a joy for him to do it. But you know, I remember that first day we were getting kind of worried because we were going through all these beat CDs. The guys left with a couple burns of some CDs of some stuff he wrote. But finally, the next day, they got his equipment there. They got the ASR 10 and the MP.
Oh, so you guys weren't feeling...
We had a couple that we were kind of dwelling on, but he wasn't sold either. So it wasn't like a weird thing. It was just kind of like, maybe these will work. But you know, we left that first day of just listening. He was like, this, you know, they were supposed to have my gear, but they'll have it tomorrow.
Right.
I got some samples. I got some ideas.
Did you hear any beats that you remember that became something else that you didn't use? And later you're like, oh my god, like Jay took that.
No, I didn't actually.
We passed up an H to the Izzo, bro.
I'd like to think that I would have remembered. Maybe my memory fails me, but I hope not. Almost, but that was amazing watching him. I mean, we watched him from sampling the records to chopping everything up to bringing in we watched every phase of it and got to work right there alongside with him. You know, me and him were like figuring out the cuts together. Like it was a really dope experience.
So he was supposed to rhyme on it, or you guys definitely wanted him to rhyme on it?
No, he wasn't supposed to rhyme on it.
He wasn't.
I was gonna ask you, how did that happen?
This is so Kanye West actually. So you know, the guys are writing their rhymes, and I want to say they were originally writing 16s, and then Kanye's like he starts doing this thing, like the beat's finally there. We got like a good spine going. Everyone's like we're locked in. Yeah. This is the one. This is it. We're going in. Everyone's committed. And I watch him start pulling Evan Rock aside one by one. He's just like, yo, check this out. And I think we still had sidekicks. Did we still have sidekicks? I think
2 ways.
He had a 2-way, and I think he had his rhyme. He had a rhyme. He's like, yo, check this out. My favorite girl wants to leave me because I want him. You know, watch him kick these raps. He was like working out in his head to Evan Rock. And somehow he finagled, like, you know, he finally was like, yeah, I'm feeling it. I want to get on this jam. And the guys are like, oh, yeah, fuck yeah, let's do it. Even better. And, which was a blessing in disguise. But the funny thing is, like, you know, he got 16, but the guys got 12.
Really?
Yeah.
You know, so it's very Kanye of him, you know, like he went through this trouble of making the guys edit their 16s to make them, you know, for the grander scheme of the song. Right, but when it came down to trimming his rap, it's not going to make sense unless we get
the choir comes into evidence verse if no one catches. Like the last 4 bars is the choir singing, and then it goes into Kanye. So I'm like, I always wondered that shit. I was like, they carry him short.
And you guys like locked down the concept of the song from jump, pretty much.
Yeah. You know, it was Kanye was very hands on with everything.
Wow.
From the lyrics, the attitude of the song, what direction we're going.
So you guys spent a whole week together.
Yeah, it was like a whole week.
Like
up
that.
in there.
I feel like that would never happen nowadays.
Probably not. He was young and hungry then. He was, I mean, he was still in his, like, I have a Louis Vuitton bag stage. Like, you know, he was still very, like, just getting jewelry, you know. I mean, Evidence was picking him up every day and bringing him to the studio, you know, so.
Did he have that guy with the camera with him yet or no?
Not yet.
Oh, that's even before the documentary.
Yeah.
So it's so interesting, the recording process back in the day, because now, you know, he would have produced the beat, he would have sent the stems over, you guys would have recorded it alone.
Right. And it might have been a beat that him and like 10 other people collaborated on that finally gets to us. Like,
then he would have maybe cut your verses and recorded his own verse and then send it to you. Be like, what do you guys think of this? I just spit on this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how it would have happened.
You guys got one. I think it's a top 10 Kanye verse of all time.
No, it's pretty awesome.
It's a fucking. That was his first thing before the album.
He was feeling himself. He knew.
Yeah.
And you know the other beautiful thing about it too was what a lot of people don't know was just watching him work. Was just I soaked up so much game. But originally, and then he brought John Legend in before anyone knew who John Legend is, which was just fucking amazing. But the funny thing is, I know I still have the version somewhere. There was a whole version where it wasn't John Legend and it was Keisha Cole.
Wow.
And I don't know what was going on with Keisha Cole and Kanye at the time, but she was at the studio all fucking week hanging out, and we had a whole version where she was killing it. It sounded amazing too.
He was probably recording her first single.
Yeah, I think he had her in another room, like down the hall, you know. And then
I changed my mind, I think, right?
Yeah. So.
And then he was like, well, I'm working with this amazing artist named John Legend. You got to hear him, guys. You know, I'm gonna have him play some piano and lay some lyrics down on the song instead of Keisha. And then, you know, the rest is history. So, and the really dope thing that it led to that week and us like having that great session with him was, you know, we got to open up for him on his tour, you know, so he took us on tour. Like it wasn't even 2 months later. And both of our albums were dropping around the same time. And it was so cool because we would refrain from doing this way during our set, and he would bring us back up during his set, you know, because, you know, when you're an opener, like they're really there to see the headliner, you know, and you know, we get this cool little 20 minutes to like maybe catch some of his fans, you know, but for him to like pull us up on stage in the middle of his set, damn near like halfway through his set, at the peak of his set, and do that jam every night was amazing. You know, we did like a whole month and a half tour with him, and him, John Legend on tour every night. Don C was his DJ at the time and manager.
Wow.
You know, Don was doing everything and DJing at the time. And I think it was like, even for Kanye, I think that was probably his first bus tour, you know?
Yeah.
But that was an amazing experience.
Well, your experience with him, did you think he'd be the, you know, the megastar, billionaire motherfucker that he is now? No,
because even at that time, I think that's what made it easy for us to work with him. It was just beats and raps and just fucking, you know, hip hop. It was just music, you know? And I'm not going to act like we got close or anything, but I if you would ask me if he was going to be like this in 2024, I would have not predicted any of that.
20 years later, exactly.
You know, I was looking at him like, oh, this is the next Primo P-Rock. This is the next, you know, like this is the next level of one of us. You know, and that's why I've always been a huge fan of Kanye. No matter what stratosphere he goes to, I still look at him as like one of us. So, you know.
Yeah, it was like there was this 2000s era of like kind of backpack commercial hip hop that was like still thriving. It was going really well. Like Linkin Park and Jay-Z had the Collision Course.
Yep.
The Executioners had their own album, built from scratch, right?
For sure.
It was like there was this whole other ecosystem of like hip hop, like backpack hip hop that was, and rap that was just coexisting with all the jiggy, Ja Rule, 50 Cent, all of this shit at the same time.
Well, I think too, like, you know, like everything that you're mentioning, like they realize like maybe we can't tap into the urban energy, but maybe we can get some of this Warped Tour energy. Maybe we can get some of this Linkin Park energy, you know? And so that's where I think, like, you know, Dilated, we were lucky enough to kind of fall somewhere in between, you know what I mean? We weren't exactly jiggy rap, but, you know, we were able to like adjust and play on stages that maybe weren't made for us, but morphing into a Warped Tour, opening up for Linkin Park was never a hard transition.
But it was, you know, it was dope because at the time it was like, wow, like Asian DJs are like kind of popping, like Mr. Han and Babu, and it was just like you guys are all nasty. So we was like, oh man, this like Asian DJ thing is like kind of dope and shit, right?
I never thought about it. You know, at that point I never thought about that, but that is
I feel like the presence was, you know, important
for sure.
You know,
for sure, especially for us, you know, Filipinos and DJing is like, you know what I mean. So like,
and you was in the videos, like you was like you was for real. Like they treated you like, you know, like a real third member of the crew. Like you was in this way. You was in the video with Kanye. You was like fully in that shit.
No, you know? For sure. And you know, I can't say enough about my bros, Evidence and Rock. They've always treated me like a third of the group, and that's for better, for worse. So that means, you're doing a third of the interviews. You're going to take a third of the L's. You're going to take a third of the wins. You know, so like even off stage, like, you know, we all wear many different hats of the group, even though we've had managers and labels over the years. Like when I say we were a very independent group, I don't mean that on not necessarily how we released our music, but how we operated. You know, we were like one of the rare groups that would actually go to Capitol Records and actually take meetings and walk around them halls, and you know, and we're our own booking agents, we're our own lawyers, we're our own tour managers at times, you know. So we always prided ourselves, and Evan Rock, they didn't want a you know, if they just wanted a fake DJ, they could have just hired a relative to go up there and do this. You know, they really appreciated that I was a real killer, and they wanted someone pound for pound to contribute. And, you know, and that was, I remember too, it was important for me. I told them going in, I'm like, I just don't want to be like, you guys call me when it's time to go on tour.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be in the studio. I want to contribute. I want to be part of everything the group experiences. And I remember being intimidated because I already got to deal with Evidence beats, but Alchemist beats, Joey Chavez beats, and then these guys were already privy to getting beats from top-notch producers as well. So, you know, I'm competing with the likes of, the Beat Miners and DJ Premier. And so I worked really hard those years to, like, like get my production game up and be able to contribute on that level too. And, you know, mad shouts out to Evidence and Rocka. You know what I'm saying? They always like, whether I was kicking vocals or maybe I banged out a beat, maybe I didn't, like, you know, like, it's always been an even three-way split on everything we do. And it's always just been a blessing to have been part of Dilated Peoples. I'm still a part of Dilated Peoples, of course, but yeah.
How did you enjoy, like, the live shows and touring and stuff?
Oh yeah.
Was that one, like, when you look back, is that your favorite moments, just being on stage?
Definitely, just that whole era of being on tour buses and just flying everywhere and just having shit popping was an amazing time in my life. I had so many good memories, and I'm so grateful for it. You know, it really humbled me, and it really
humbled you, huh?
No, really, just, it's so amazing to, like, go to different places in the world and people know your music, man. Right. It's just like, you know, and yeah, early on I was probably like, you know, like a little more wild and, like, unappreciative of this shit. You know, I'm talking, like, again,
I want to talk to that Babu for a second.
I know, right?
Bring him in.
Where's that asshole?
What were you doing a while out at that time? Just drinking,
smoking mad weed. We're more of a weed forward group. I think that's another common denominator between the third of us. But it was just living that lifestyle. If we weren't on the road, we were in the lab. You know, I'm in the lab all fucking night and come home long enough just to switch bags, as Rocco would say. Like, you know, we'd be on tour for 8 months out of the year, you know, at the least during those times. And but I don't know. I'm not really a wild cat. You know what I'm saying? I'm the cat who, I'm the cat who would set up the studio in the back of the bus and be like, "Oh, we're done with the show. I'm going back and making beats." Or, "Where's the record store so I can go make more beats in the back of the bus?" So me and Ed were very much like that. Every city, we're like bombarding record stores, trying to beat each other to make beats in the back. Get the show out the way so we can go to the next record store. That for a while, that was kind of the grind. So,
oh my God, what was your favorite city touring and stuff? Like the crowd and just the energy and, like, even digging in there, you were just shocked.
Well, nothing's better than LA, but I've had great experiences. I mean, Europe.
I feel like Japan would have been crazy for you.
Japan was awesome. I mean, I literally shut down record stores in Japan. I lost my mind at that time. But you know, Europe in general really embraced us over the years. You know, like the particular spots I think of. I mean, Amsterdam is home. I mean, Germany loves us for I don't know what reason. The UK has always been good. You know, nothing compares to LA, but it all kind of becomes one big show after a while, though, too. You know what I mean? Like, just that whole lifestyle of just being a full-time musician was amazing. It was amazing.
When you say shut down record stores, that means, like, nobody can walk in and you just by yourself in the record store?
You just mean he bought everything in
yeah,
the
yeah.
Like, what is it exactly?
So maybe I shouldn't say shut down, but, like, they only open up for me.
Yeah.
Because, like, you know, okay. so like, you know, like, dang, like I'm here, like I remember this particular instance. I'm thinking in Tokyo, I found a record store, mad heat, I'm digging, but I'm looking at the clock because I've got sound check, dinner, and I'm like, how about after 11? You know, so they'll open up the store for me, and I just stayed in there until like 5 in the morning.
You're like Babu from Dilated Peoples, of course.
But at that time, I was going crazy. You know what I mean? Like, it wouldn't be weird. I'd drop $1 grand or $2. You know what I mean? Like, at that time when I was really fully immersed, like, that wouldn't be weird to. You know, and it's not a lot of records I'm talking about. Like, I'd spend $1 grand on this many records. Like, you know what I mean? But, like, obviously I was going for the gusto, trying to get placements, trying to make beats. So I'm over here, I'm like, I'm catching loops that no one else is going to find back at home. So, like, you know, being overseas and being away and already kind of having this reputation, and, like, the record dealers would come to my hotel. Like, you know, I wouldn't even go to record stores after a while. It would just be like, yeah, just bring a portable over, and they would just bring a few crates over. Wow. And I would just, boom, oh, thousands of that dude. Oh, next guy's coming. Yeah, I mean, dudes just
what the
dealers
fuck?
just come. But I learned from stories of hearing about all the OGs. I mean, you hear stories about like Large Professor and T-Ray and what these cats were doing like in the 90s. Like, so I was really inspired to like just go hard. And Evidence and Al were all going. So we were always just going hard. And then I got homies like Newmark, and I remember being on tour with Cut Chemist and Newmark. These dudes, we would all like pull up to a new town, and we all get to the hotel after driving all night. Oh, what do you guys want to do? You guys want to go get a bite and do something before sound check? Oh man, we're just gonna shower and rest. We'll see you at sound check. So me and the Junkies, we get the idea. Hey, let's just look in the phone book and go to a local record store.
Wow.
We go over there. Why is Cut and New already fucking over there? Happened more than a few times.
They're trying to get the goods first.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Play job, bro.
The record game's crazy, dude. Like you be all digging together. You find a break that you already have. You hide it. You hide it somewhere else.
Did you enjoy being in front of the camera?
Not initially. It was something I learned.
Really?
I wasn't mad at in DJ battling, obviously you had to get used to it, but I didn't really think about it because I was really hype on, I got to show some shit.
Right.
But with Dilated, I really learned about, because that was a big part of our job. I remember days where we would like go to Capitol Records and be like, you take 1/3 of the interviews in that conference room, you take 1/3.
Oh, really?
And so I would take 1/3 of them too. And I'm sure everyone was pissed because they wanted to talk to the rappers. But I had to learn. I had to learn how to be on camera and, do voice IDs for radio stations. Like they would just give us lists and, all that kind of stuff. So I think all that kind of prepped me for my next phase of my life, being in front of the camera and chit-chatting and all that.
Yeah.
I learned that definitely through that experience with Dilated and being on Capitol.
Yeah, I thought it was really dope that, like they treated you almost like, Homicide with Sugar Ray, how he was always a part of the group.
Shouts out to Homicide.
Yeah, shout out to Homicide.
That's
I didn't even
boy.
know AM was on Crazy Town, so I heard the scratches. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Because he wasn't in the videos or nothing, so I was like, oh, shit.
Shouts out, rest in peace, AM. He's, that's another part of the family tree. A lot of people don't know, like, he was dear friends of Alchemist and Evidence too, because they all lived in the same area and all partied and fucked around together, So I remember AM coming into Fat Beats early on when I first met him, and I don't know how at what point you guys met AM, but this is old school AM.
Yeah,
this is
big
old,
AM.
Big AM.
Yeah.
And he was always a very outspoken guy, but like this guy would just like come in here and just like walk behind the counter. Have a cut session. He just want to come into Fat Beats and scratch at everybody. You know who my good friend is? Alchemist. I taught him how to use the EPS 16 plus. You know what I mean? He was always just letting cats know his pedigree. But yeah, shouts out to AM, man. But he's actually connected in a weird way to Dilated too.
And you always were you just famous for having your super duck beats and everything like that? Because it was so that was such a standard for every DJ to have.
For sure. Well, the super duck break thing was something like I was inspired to do because of other records I grew up seeing. Whether it be Ultimate Breaks and Beats or like Simon Harris records or DJ Rectangle records. And so during that era, Hubert made a lot of noise by starting his own record label and putting out tools. And I remember the first one I saw him do was Battle Breaks, and I didn't know what it was, but it's the first time we see Mixmaster Mike, Apollo, and Hubert win the USA and the Worlds. Mm-hmm. And they were using some record. I was like, what record are they using? When I finally found that record, and it was just this compilation of all the sick sounds you'd want, in a cool order. I was really inspired by Hubert. And then there was another group of DJs from the Bay, the Bulletproof Scratch Hamsters. Mm-hmm. Shouts out to DJ Quest. They had their own break record out. So I got really inspired by those. And this is right as I was starting to work at Fat Beats. And
hey, I was gonna ask you if they helped kind of
they were big supporters of the record,
manufacture it and produce
it. For sure. Well, indirectly, because that record came out on Stone's Throw actually. So I had early on made good friends with my brother Peanut Butter Wolf. We were both on this DJ compilation in '95 called Return of the DJ. Mm-hmm. And through being on this project, we became friends. I found out he was working at RTI, this record distribution. They were kind of the West Coast distributor of independent hip hop.
Yeah.
And so I got cool with him there, but then as I started working at Fat Beats, I got really cool with him because I literally was calling him to order records.
Right.
And through then, he was starting to become more and more aware of my pedigree. Obviously being in the Bay, he knows I'm doing battles, and he knows Shortcut and all my other boys up there. And so he was the one who actually got behind me and put out that record, Super Duck Breaks, which finally came out in 96. And you know, that one just, I always look at it, it just kind of went along with all of that whirlwind time of me getting down with the Junkies and everything. It was just one of those things that, such a blessing in disguise. Because I think for the longest time, it was like Stone's Throw's best-selling record. But I never really...
It was everywhere.
It was kind of unfair, though.
Record store.
Me and Wolf always laugh about it, though. I go, it's like the best-selling record. But you know what, though? It's one of those records where, like, everyone's buying 2 off top. And then when they get worn, I mean, most DJs I know from that era probably got like 4 or 6 copies laying around that are all burnt out.
Every record store I went to, even like the turntablist record stores like Rock and Soul, that's all I saw.
Yeah,
it was always on the walls. It
was such a blessing, man. And really, like I said, I was just really trying to make tools for other DJs to use. Like it became parts of me and the Beat Junkies team routines, and you know, it made it possible for us to like execute stuff that we weren't able to do on just grabbing any record, you know. And obviously this is pre-digital and Serato and all that as well, but you know, that whole culture of battle records was really new at that time.
Was that like kind of your entry point to like maybe learning studio work a little bit, just
a little
like gathering sounds and like?
Well, that combined with just, I've always been into 4-track mixes.
Okay, yeah.
So I already had a 4-track and was trying to do multi-track quick mixes and layering shit, and had a couple rapper homies try to rap on some shit. So, you know, by the time I recorded Super Duck Breaks, it was still like I knew what it was, but I think I went to a buddy who had ADATs. I still didn't have ADATs at my crib, so I just literally had
I haven't heard that in a minute.
Yeah, I literally had a Tascam 424 tape, and I knew it wasn't enough quality, you know, for what I needed. I was going to wax, so I remember did I rent out a studio that had a simple fucking ADAT setup, and you know, and that was one of my first times of dealing with real equipment. You know, other than that, it was always like a cassette 4-track. You know.
Wow. I mean, it's so funny because I was thinking like, where did your production chop start? Yeah. And I was thinking maybe this with Super Duck Breaks and beats.
That was about the time it started, because I think maybe like, you know, in that era was also me making the revelation of, you know, I was really heavy into like reading production credits, and you know, that was like a lot of the gateway of me finding records and starting to be like, you know, making the realization, like, why do I hear this one drum break in every song? You know what I mean? Oh, it's because it's James Brown, funky drummer. You know what I mean? So you know, I started that natural curiosity and reading the back of things, and oh shoot, De La Soul, Ahmad Jamal. I'm gonna buy every Ahmad Jamal record I see when next time I go to the record store. So that must have been 95, 94 was when I wasn't making beats. I didn't have the equipment, but that curiosity was kicking in. I was starting to have that mentality, if you know what I mean, where I'm starting to listen to records and be like, I like it, but I would have did this, or nah, I would have put some better drums on that. You know what I mean? I started having that kind of mentality. You know,
it's like a good mentality, but it also like ruins like the enjoyment of listening to music. Right?
Yes,
I can't listen to music like a regular consumer anymore.
No. Even a DJ, you can't listen to a DJ for what it is. You have to be like, I would have done this. Yo, why is he playing the song too long?
It's like a great but like horrible fucking
horrible thing.
It's something we have to go through, though, I think, as DJs. You know, like it's a phase that we go through, but you know,
it's a long phase.
It's a long phase. It's a long phase. You know, and if you don't scratch that itch, you know, you'll always just, you know, you'll just end up looking like this hating motherfucker. Like, then why don't you do it, fool? Like, you know what I mean? But I do feel like, you know, that's why there's a reason why so many great producers come from a DJ type of background. You know what I mean? Like, we are the ultimate fucking music fans and critics as far as I'm concerned. Like, you know, like to even like get to the place where you're going to put DJ in front of your name and go out. It's easier these days. But, you know, for our generations, you know, it really means you're putting in that much time and energy into listening and dissecting music. Like you said, you can't go into Chipotle, hear a song without being like, oh, I know that sample, or you know what I mean, or just being like, oh, I'm gonna use this in tonight's mix, or you know what I mean, like just that one part.
just loop
that love and obsession to always continue going like digging and to like get the exclusive and to have that one record, you know, that
for sure
you've been looking for 5 years.
You nailed it, the obsession. You know, that I think is something like, you know, I was discouraged of growing up by my parents. You know, they used to see me just get blinders on when I was really into something. I would just be like the world could burn around me, you know, but like I'm focused on Transformers right now. Transformers. Everything about Transformers and being the Transformer universe. Like, you know, that was always like my thing, and I was discouraged from that. But then,
so are you the one that's buying like the new Transformers that are transforming themselves? Have you seen this shit?
I just saw that pop up my feed.
Decepticons.
I fell off a long time ago, but that shit is amazing.
That shit, can you imagine if that shit came out in the 90s?
Toys are so nice now.
I was like,
fucking like Megatron just transforming, Optimus Prime transforming on their own.
I don't realize our action figures' arms were just like this. Just like this.
And then you can break a fucking piece off. It's the worst.
Yeah, those Transformers are fucking sick.
No, the new ones is like Megatron.
It's real.
I'm like, holy shit.
It's so sick. It's so sick.
You've been so blessed to like be surrounded by all these amazing producers, right? Have you been in the studio? Were you in the studio when Alchemist was making Worse for Worse? Worse Comes to Worse?
Yeah. That was actually, one of my favorite times. You know, we were working on our second album. And, you know, when you're on the second album, like everyone's excited about you, the label and everybody, and there's still that buzz. And we made it a point that, you know what, we're going to rent out D&D for 2 fucking weeks.
Wow, really?
Damn, bro.
And it was an amazing experience, man. Like we locked down both rooms. We would have locked down 3, but that's Primo's room, so no one ever really gets to lock that one down.
Crazy.
Did you ever see him?
Oh, we finally did, because the whole thing was hinged around us doing a song with DJ Premier. All right, so we also then ended up working with not only Alchemist, but the Beat Miners and Juju from the Beat Nuts. So at one point during that week, we were running all 3 rooms. And what
a dream come true, right?
Oh my God.
For like a 90s head.
You have no idea. Like walking into, like seeing the vending machine that vended blunts. Turn to my right, it's Afu-Ra. Turn to my left, it's Bumpy Knuckles. Like it was just like you would imagine from a back of a record or hearing a record coming out at that time. It was amazing. And they really embraced us and really like made us feel at home during that experience. But to be there for 2 weeks and really, you know, and that's not my favorite Dilated record, is Expansion Team, our second record, but that was a big part of it. Yeah, I remember Al pulling that beat and making it in front of our faces. Ev actually had that song idea, the scratch, and he took it from an old idea that he was kicking around with Defari, and like it just all came together like magic. I still remember Primo coming in and being like, "What?" and just being like, "This is it. This is that shit." Like, you know what I mean? And
it's such a good track, and it's such a good scratch. Like that scratch is so good, and the way you did it was like really fucking amazing.
I mean, even up to today, man, I look forward to the end of our show to do that. It's one of our pieces of work that I'm like proud top to bottom about. Like,
and I feel like being in a room in the same studio as Premier, you're like, I gotta get this shit. You know, like I gotta get the scratches.
One take, Jake.
Because you know how he patterns his scratches, right?
Oh man, I studied him so hard. Yeah, man. Yeah. I mean, having him in the room and getting his approval and just becoming friends with him. You know, like that was like the first time really early, like the early times that I really got to spend a lot of time with him. And you know, you meet your OGs, you might meet them 10 times before they finally remember you,
right?
You know, straight up, you know what I mean?
That's just still crazy to me.
You know, but Prima's always been gracious, and he always remembered me, even from the very initial small times he met me. But, you know, that was amazing, you know, like getting to scratch with him and you know, me show him a couple, like, how'd you do that? And just nerding out, DJ nerd shit, talking samples and him showing me like, oh, this is how I make my bass. And he had like, you know, he showed me his little bass module and how he did shit. So, and the funny thing is, like, as much as that studio was accredited for that whole amazing era of rap, it was just like such a dump. It was just like but it was part of the charm. You know what I mean?
It
like,
probably smelled like Philly guts.
Yeah,
right?
Totally, man. I mean, like they were constantly fixing things. Like, oh, you know, we can. Everything but this one track is not working. Everything, all other 24, but not this one. You know what I mean? Like, you know, there was like something falling apart.
The wiggle the XLR a little bit, and the RCAs.
But there's something in the air
about it.
Something in the air there, man. Like,
how did was there something that even the sound, the acoustics just sounded different in there, or is it just?
I really think it was all in our heads, because like, you know, I bring up the point that it was such a dumpy studio. I mean, even like. The type of gear they had was not necessarily considered, you know, the best. You know, it was probably somewhere in the medium range of what you could do when you had a big studio. But goddamn, man, I think like just the legendary prospect of working at D&D made us all walk into that place like, man, like we better be on our like A++ game. We got to get this in. We, you know, we're not going in here making trash. We're gonna, you know, we need to come out of here making gold. You know what I mean? So I think like it's the same thing when people talk about like what's it working like with Dr. Dre. What did he do? Why did it? You know, it's kind of that almost that fear or that nervousness of like, you know, like I'm stepping into a situation of greatness. Just that alone is already like putting your mind frame in another place. So I think like, I mean, we were charged. We'd be the first one to the studio every day. Like, we're right here, 12 noon. We're right here, ready to go. Where's everyone else? Let's record. Like, you know what I mean? Like, but really, really amazing time.
Did you know that worst comes to worst? Did you know that was the hit? Did you?
Yeah, I felt it. Yeah. I felt it. I mean, like when we were making it, like I said, like you never knew, but people just kept walking in and being like, "Ooh, take off my hat!" Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, Preem, like I had to bring so and so in here to listen to this shit, man. Play it from the top again, like, you know. So just leaving the studio that night, yeah. You know, it's definitely better than making some shit you're not sure of. That's for sure.
You know, when they come in the studio, they be like, I'll let you work, and they never come back.
I'll let you get back to what you're doing.
Yeah, just like I knew it the second, like I just tried to lay the scratch in my head. I was like, man, this sounds crazy, man. You know, and just hearing it all come together. And, you know, back then too, like even the process of, you know, how we record jams back in the day. You know, a lot of people just, you know, it's like, here's a kick on one track, here's a snare, here's a hat, here's one musical loop, here's a whole track for the other alternate music loop, you know, and just, you know, watching Al just program through doing the mutes and you know, and it was also this weird time signature too. It was like, you know, a 3-bar loop or something weird too. So it was challenging. Like, and I remember just like it was yesterday, man. It was magic.
It's so interesting how like those 3-bar loops or those like 5-bar loops, they always stand out. Yeah, they always end up becoming like really amazing hits for some reason.
For sure.
I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is too. I like, you know, and even like what's some other ones?
Like electric relaxation.
That's a great one.
Stakes High. Yeah, another great one. Even though we had Clark Kent and we were talking about Brooklyn's Finest.
What is that, 5?
Yeah, 5. But if you didn't have that extra bar, that's the whole point of it. It's the whole magic of that song, right?
God, I love that song. Such a good extra fucking 5th beat.
Bar.
Oh my God. Yeah,
but it's weird how those odd number loops, they just work so well.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. It's a magical thing, man. And sometimes I think it's, you know, for me, because I'm such a sample driven producer, it's like I can relate to how JD must have felt when he looped it around and it didn't sound right until he just let it go to that 3. You know what I'm saying?
It's got to be 3, right?
You know, God, can you imagine Q-Tip and Ali Shaheed figuring out the loop of fucking electric relaxation, dude? Like, I would have been, oh my God, like I just won the fucking lottery. Like, Jesus Christ. Like, but even back then, like I don't even, you know, you think about people making things that's so raw with like not even really a lot of music knowledge, and it's all instinctive and from the gut. Pretty amazing.
I have a question. When was the last time you toured with Dilated Peoples?
Toured?
Or you just like did shows?
We literally just did a show last week.
Really? So like you guys are still doing shows?
Yeah. We're way pickier now. You know, the fellas are like right in the middle of fatherhood, like prime time of fatherhood. You know, so we're just very picky about our shows. Tours are a little tougher because of the, you know, life schedules and stuff. But you know, we're blessed enough that we can be picky and choosy, and pick shows that are the right fit. So like we just did at the Ontario Center, which is like, you know, an hour out in the cut, played a huge, you know, I don't want to call it a festival. It was like Souls, Far Side, Cypress, like it really dope. And then like, you know, we have another one in August coming up, Rhyme Fest. That's a big thing at the Torch at the Coliseum. So, you know, one thing with Dilated, we always took pride in our live show, so I think that's why we're still able to perform. If we wanted to tour, I think we still could, but I think like we put so much effort into our live show all these years that, you know, we'll always perform, and you know, we'll always I think there's always going to be room for it if life permits. How much more? I don't know. Touring is different now that I'm older, you know, obviously for everybody. Like the downtime kills me now. You know, like I can only take so many Instagram photos and buy so many records at this point, you know. But the moment on stage is still
It's magic,
it's
right?
fucking priceless, man. I love performing with my guys. So I like to think we'll be able to do it still for a little longer.
In your head, what would be the perfect like tour? You guys and who else to like just go together?
Man, I wish I was on the Cyprus tour that had Souls of Mischief and Farsight.
That's just crazy. Shouts to Lazy Boy. He's on that.
Yeah, shouts out to Lazy Boy. Shouts out to R.O.A.D. Shouts out to the Farsight fam, and of course Cyprus. But yeah, I would love to do something like that. I'd love to be on tour with De La Soul. That would be amazing. I just got to see. I'm kind of fresh off because we opened up for the festival over the summertime in Switzerland. And they did this whole show where it was low key Black Star was there, so Quali was doing all of Dave's parts, and then it turned into a Black Star show. That was pretty fucking amazing. But yeah, so
you're like pretty conditioned to the downtime you have here at like in LA, and like you're like a full-on program director. You're like running your own school.
I'm at the school all the time.
Yeah.
Are you the principal? If there was a school, you were
well, no, actually, shouts out to the actual principal, which is my girl Maricel. She's the principal of the school. She's actually does a lot of the back end. Chalk is what we call our dean of students. Somehow
I love this breakdown.
Somehow I ended up being whatever you want to call my position. That's a great way of saying it. But I do have my hand pretty much on everything that has to do with the school.
Like, did you help? Like, who? I feel like were you the one that was really focused on the curriculum and building that?
Chalk and myself were very involved in that. Yeah. Shouts out to my brother, Mr. Chalk. He's the one that gave us the confidence to do this school. And you already mentioned it earlier, Jamie. He was a director at Scratch for many years.
Right.
So even before we even kicked the idea, he was already a 10-year veteran of teaching and running a school.
So he really had the infrastructure and the formula kind of
definitely
set.
He had an idea. He had an idea, but I think we butted heads a lot building the curriculum.
Really? What you guys butt heads about?
Well, there's too many scratches on the curriculum.
No, for real, it was a little bit of that. He actually put me up on a lot of game, and then I was fighting for us to stick to our guns. But Chalk already obviously had been through this. It's a tough business having a DJ school, first of all. And so he has already watched it for 10 years, watched what's bringing people in, what's turning people off, what's going here, what's going there, what's the landscape like. And he early on wanted to put a little bit more emphasis on getting to the digital right away.
Wow. Yeah,
and then and I was over here like, bro, we're the Beat Junkies. Vinyl. I was thinking at least first 3 levels got to be vinyl, man. If not 4, you know what I mean?
Jesus Christ.
And so we quickly learned and adjusted and compromised, and we built this foundation curriculum now that's, I feel the best of both worlds. And a lot of people look at our school. You just look at the pictures. It's all turntables, and it looks very niche, and it might be like intimidating for people, but the biggest thing that we teach at the school is everything we teach is genre and technology proof. We stripped it down to be like basic things all DJs should know. How to use our ears. You know what I mean? How does this equipment actually work? Where's the one? How many beats are in a bar? Things like that kind of nature. And why I say they're always future proof is like, and a lot of people associate us with hip hop as well, but we're very genre open and we're very technology open. And, I think that what we built, what Chalk and I built as far as the curriculum goes is a reflection of that balance, and it's been an amazing 7 years. We've had the school now. I can't even, it sounds weird saying that, but we're here in our 7th year and we made it through that fucking pandemic. But,
online school was crazy. I remember you guys were putting those out on that Twitch and shit.
We still do BeatJunkies.tv as well. We're still doing that, but we're blessed, and this is a labor of love from the Beat Junkies, the school. This is something like we self-funded this, literally built this place with our hands, and it's been such an amazing experience. And something we learned is like we could teach, and it could be about turntables and the skills and all that kind of stuff. But, we were lucky enough to realize what really keeps our students here with us, because a lot of our students average being with us 2 to 3 years. Where I noticed from a lot of the other schools, they were turning them out 3 months in and out, when we studied everything, DJ
so what was the key of having them stay on longer and and continue the education and continue learning from you guys?
Well, we figured out the key was outstanding customer service, first of all, just on some business. Like, you know, there's such a personal touch that, you know, I can't say enough about our whole staff is just amazing. Right. People who really love the art form. And also too, it's about the experience. It's not, most of our students aren't over here thinking they're going to go and become a world-renowned DJ, DJing festivals. This is something that they might do instead of CrossFit. This is something they might do instead of surfing or
to hobby
painting. It's like self-enrichment, you know, on top of like just the personal growth I see people go through, because, you know, our program's not easy. We make them get up on stage and make mixes out of vinyl before they even think about laptops and all that. So, you know, I've watched Wallflowers be in our program and walk out of here looking like fucking rock stars, dude. Like, you know, with the confidence building and making lifelong friendships. It's amazing now to see my students throwing events, you know, having their own crews, you know, having real success. And yeah, we hope to be here forever, you know.
Is that something you were like 100% on board when they kind of like were starting to talk about Beat Junkies becoming maybe or launching a school? Were you
hell no.
Where you're like, this is crazy. This makes no sense.
Yeah. I think it got brought up early on, like maybe like 2012.
Oh, that early? Because it didn't launch till 2014, right?
Right. 17,
yeah.
But then I think that conversation, led us to deciding on trying the record pool first. So, you know, beatjunkies.com came around 2014, and that was a real success for us. And that one was even hard because, you know, our background, like, sharing was not caring. You know what I mean? Like, we come from, the background, like, man, you're giving up all the secrets, G. Like, what the fuck, you know? But we quickly learned that, man, this is the way we sustain and connect with the next generation, man. Like, we got to put them up on game and we got to share. You know, what other art form is like sharing bad, you know? So we quickly made that revelation. And then the conversation about opening a school came up.
Who brought that up, Chalk?
Actually, D Styles brought it up.
Really?
I think D Styles brought it up in 2014-ish. No, more like 2015.
What was the inspiration behind that?
D simply put it like, you know, and I don't think this was our whole vision and not really where we ended up, but he was kind of like, what do boxers do after they're done boxing, guys? You know, they open up their own facilities and they train the next generation with their brand of boxing. And they,
sick.
You know, and you know, so when D put it like that, I'm like, and I was at a different point in my career. I think like Dilated, it felt natural, like it was time to me to like shift and do something else. The timing was right. And from the success of the record pool, you know, we obviously we're trying to invest in ourselves and do something, and just made sense at this time to do the school. And God, I wish we did it 10 years earlier. You know what I mean? It's been such an amazing experience.
In the room alone with the Beat Junkies, the amount of experience, talent, skill, and just like
it's
knowledge
intimidating too.
In one room. No, but in one room.
Oh yeah.
And to think like, you know, just like you guys finally put it like, you know, into fruition in 2017, you said?
Yeah.
It's really like, it does make sense, but it's, I always love when we had Melody on the show and he was like, we didn't really know what to do with the Beat Junkies brand at a certain point, you know, and it wasn't until like, I guess your anniversary or something, 20th anniversary, that you guys were like, wow, there's still like, there's people remember this. For sure. And we forgot how special this is. And it's just like that reminder kind of like established the brand to a certain degree, maybe.
For sure. And you know, I feel like, you know, when we did the 20 year, I remember that buzz. And then I remember we launched .com, the record pool. And I remember that energy and that buzz. And, you know, and I feel like the school's like been like our last wave we created, you know, and it's been such a beautiful thing now with all of our businesses, because now we have .com, we have .tv, and we have the school, and they have this nice relationship where, you know, if any of the businesses win, all the businesses win. They all support each other, even though they're separate entities being ran by us, of course, you know what I mean? But the school has been the most gratifying.
You love teaching now.
I do. I never saw myself as a teacher. I really didn't. And
how were you your first class? Were you like,
oh my God,
what were you teaching?
Well, and you know, even before my first class, I remember like we bought the spot, right?
Yeah.
We bought the place and we're like, Yeah,
so that must have been scary.
It was crazy. Like having to like buying an open space and filling it up and really thinking it out, laying floor plans out, and on top of building the curriculum. Remember we got it like roughly set up one day, and we're all there, and D-Style's like, and Chalk asked us, he's like, well, hey guys, it's like we got to really get this teaching thing down, you know. So like someone show me something. You know what? Teach me a baby scratch. You know. And all of us one by one got up there, and it was just fucking whack. You go like this in your hand, you go like this, and you know what I mean? I was like, you know, and I'm sitting there making the realization. I'm like, wow, like I got to go back to the drawing board. And I literally felt as if that first year before we opened the school, going into the first year or so, I literally retaught myself how to DJ. You know, everything for, you know, like, and really made no more excuses for myself. Said, I'm going to learn everything before I get up in front of a class and make a fucking total ass out of myself here.
So
you know?
When you say you like relearned, you had to dumb everything down to the point where you have to kind of remember what it was like to not know anything. Is that what it is? Or,
you know what? I think it simply came down to a simple thought of, how am I going to explain everything that I learned how to do in the last 30 years to someone who's never done it? You know, when you break it down like that, and
not make it seem overwhelming, right?
Yeah, it's a whole different theory. You know what I'm saying? Like, so this is a fucking funny analogy, but
I feel like this is what all parents go through when they have kids. It's like, I want to put my 30, 40 years of knowledge into my kid's head all at once, and they can't do that. No. Yeah. You got to like watch them fail. You have to like literally space everything out, right?
And I have this analogy like where it really dawned on me. Like after I went through this experience at Chalk, I thought back to a high school experience I had with an English teacher, and he said the project is, guys, I want you guys to go home and write me exact directions on how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
I had that same fucking thing.
You experienced this, right?
Yeah.
Right? So the next day...
West Coast education system.
We use peanut butter and jelly lab.
Bro, it's quite the fucking thing to do, because you're like, okay, so you put the bread on, like, okay, no plate? Like, it's so much shit to it.
So that's what happens. The next day, everyone turns in their directions, and he actually has a loaf of bread in a bag and a bottle of peanut butter and a jar of jelly. And he's like, all right, Jim, this is yours. Marjorie, why don't you go up there? And I'm going to read, Jim, you read your directions to Marjorie. And it's just like you're saying, Jamie. He's like, put knife in peanut butter. Oh, I can't because there's a lid. You can't open the lid. You got to follow the directions. Yeah. So literally everyone fails that first day.
Wow.
And then it's like, now you know what we're talking about. Rewrite this shit and come back. So
tomorrow. That's how your curriculum was.
That was a realization I made when I said I have to rethink everything I know how to do and literally think of it like, yeah, you got to tell them to open up the jar. Yeah, you got to tell them to pick up the fucking knife with the right hand and scoop this much peanut butter and spread it in this direction as much as possible.
Oh my God, it seems overwhelming, like a daunting.
Yeah,
it seems like I would, like, my head would explode if I was like, oh my God, I got to create this.
Yeah, imagine teaching. Like, how do you teach someone how to mix? I mean, like, and there's literal concepts, and then there's like these abstract things we have to teach.
Right.
Oh, the beat's faster, the beat's slower. How can you tell? You know what I mean? And so we've developed this system where we just stripped a lot of the fat.
And you got to lay the foundation that will still be consistent to an intermediate expert professional level,
for sure,
where they can still apply and know what to reference at that point.
For sure.
I remember walking into the school when it first opened up. I think it was July 2017, and then I went in. Then you guys only had like really beginner curriculum, and I was like, well, I know how to do all this, so I don't want to just get into the school for this reason.
How much were they charging at that time?
I don't recall.
A grip, probably. We had pricing was wrong.
Yeah,
everything was wrong when we opened up.
I think it was like $200 for like an 8-week course. I forgot what it was, but I remember I compared it to Scratch Academy back in the day, and it was like, to learn how to scratch by Mr. Chalk, it was like $500, and I was like, oh man, the prices have not gone down ever since. So I remember like that. I remember it was a big. I was like, well, I know how to beat match and all this shit. So I was like, I don't need. So I waited to see what it became. But I can understand why you guys only had a very, very beginner curriculum, because it was just so hard to put together.
For sure, there was part of us that we knew we needed to make it accessible to anyone. You know, like, you know, we weren't going to shoot ourselves by opening up a brick and mortar business and trying to be too niche. You know, and over the years, like, curriculum's changed, it's evolved, offerings depending on what's in our current student body have changed. Like tonight, my class I'm teaching tonight is battle ready, and it's definitely an advanced class. All we're teaching is cats how to get ready for, and, you know, my whole class is like advanced students getting ready to enter competitions and battles. Wow. Versus us having an intro class where we're talking about.
Huh? You never been?
I've never been.
Bro, you walk in and it's a different, you like walking into a time capsule and it's fucking crazy.
Oh my God.
Because it's like, I remember when I first walked in, I opened the door, and then I see this fucking like table with like 40 turntables, what it seemed like. And then like you have dudes just scratching and going, and I'm like, I don't belong here. Like, these motherfuckers are too good.
I feel like I'd feel like Ralph Macchio walking into Cobra Kai for the first time.
Yeah, bro.
Just seeing everyone go, yeah.
And it's like, and shout out, his name is Silos, right?
Silos.
He's the nicest guy behind the table, and he greets you. But and then like you see, like I remember seeing Melody from the far distance. I'm like, oh man, these guys are really in here. Like, I don't know if I belong here and shit like that. But it's overwhelming.
Like walking into the Justice League.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, bro.
And you know what? You know, I'm sorry if you felt intimidated at all. And you know, and for anyone who comes to our school, you know, I always am, you know, have no problem letting them know that, like, you know, we allow no fuckery in there. Like, you know, if you jumped on the table with a whole bunch of people who you considered like on a higher level and anyone was being an asshole, we nip that shit in the bud. You know what I mean? Like, really tried, and we're really proud of our space because it's so safe and so inclusive. Like, you know what I mean? For everybody.
I
you know what I
understand
mean?
that, but it's just like if you go into the Michael Jordan Academy for the summer league,
for sure,
and you're like, oh shit, Scottie Pippen's really over there. Like it's kind of like, what the fuck?
But
no, I hear you.
How do you feel about the curriculum now? Is it the most solid that it's ever been? Because I've said this multiple times, but I've heard your online shit like is really, really good.
I've been meaning to buy that shit.
No, I've had professional DJs.
You've said his name. Yeah. You can go ahead and say his name.
No, but it's important because it's like these are people, the most cynical, like, you know, fucking negative people, like DJs I know, and they're like, what the fuck is this beat junkie bullshit? And then they fucking signed up and they're like, nah, it's really good.
That's really good.
It's really good.
That's beautiful. That's great to know. You know, our to be honest with you, there's a big difference between the online and what we do at school. The school, you know, school is actually like, you know, our curriculums are like, we start on this date and we graduate on this date. Mm-hmm. And what we do on, and I'd like to think what they're talking about on our online platform is beatjunkies.tv has a live streaming class that, you know, we talked about that we started during pandemic, which is called Homeroom. So like we teach a live class every day for an hour. So that was us trying to enter that space because we had online school already, but it was a pre-recorded library of videos that you could access and practice along with. But when we were stuck at home, we said, you know what, why don't we do this live and have live interaction with our chat and teach in real time and be able to give feedback, be able to ask questions. And yeah, it got us through the pandemic. It was a beautiful thing. And it was also like, I've seen a lot of online schools, but I still don't see anyone who was, you know, doing it live interactive like we do for our homeroom So it's almost infinite training. There's no belt on that.
Right.
Like we just keep going, you know.
That's great, man. Like I don't know. I feel like, you know, what you guys are doing, and you don't even know how many young DJs and up and coming DJs they come up to me, and they're like we came from the Beat Junkies school, and there's this pride. You know, and there's this camaraderie that they all have.
For sure.
And I think it's a beautiful thing. Like it's really amazing to see.
You know, one thing, and this is not a knock on Chalk or Scratch, but something I noticed, because, you know, while Chalk was the director there for many years, it wouldn't be weird for him to be like, yo, Babs, can you come make an appearance? I got a class graduating. Would you come through? So over the years, he's done that with all of us. We've seen what's going on over there. But I always told Chalk when we started building on the school was like, I don't want our students to like feel embarrassed that they went to DJ school. And I always felt that from the Scratch students. Not embarrassed, but they wouldn't, you know, like they're not going to share that information unless they had to. Yeah. And I get that opposite thing with what we built because our community's so strong.
Because it almost seemed like a cheat code, or like you wasn't down with nobody.
Nah, bro, I think it's different.
No, when I was coming up and someone was like, I went to Scratch Academy, like no disrespect, we were just like, Damn, you had like no one to teach you, like, or you were such a like you couldn't even teach yourself. Like I had to teach myself. Kind of shit.
It was so
new.
I had to teach myself because I couldn't afford fucking $500.
No, but that's like kind of like the like the old school 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s way. It's like someone either helped you or like you just kind of like learned it yourself. But the fact that you went to a school was kind of like like
you had money for that.
It was a little corny. You know what I mean?
You know what's so new? It was corny.
I would be so proud of it. I'd be like, yeah, I came from Scratch Academy. Fucking losers. Like I would have had that. I don't know.
But the thing is, like,
I would have been like,
but I can't.
What you brokies over here for?
If someone's like, oh, I went to Beat Junkie school, I can't be like, that shit is whack, because I'm like, well, I don't want to shit on the Beat Junkies.
Nah. I wish you guys had like pop-ups in Vegas and other cities, because I would have been like, oh shit, they're having a pop-up, they'll teach you how to do whatever, Scratch or whatever the fuck.
For sure.
I think that would be pretty sick. I don't know. I guess I'm not too afraid of being the student and like learning and being okay with being that, not knowing something.
Yeah, but I mean, their involvement and their name and their brand legitimizes.
That's a stamp.
It's a definite stamp. You can't really shit. Like I can't really shit on it like I could shit on other things. You know?
No,
because then I'm like shitting on all these guys, and they're gonna come up to me like Mel's gonna be like, I heard you were shitting on the Beat Junkie school.
Hey.
they'll text me like, yo, what is this? I'm like, yo, go speak to that motherfucker. Cause
take it from the guy who teaches at a DJ school. I still take pride in being self-taught, man. Yeah. So I can identify with that. Like it's a special thing, and I tip my hat to any artist or creative who's self-taught and actually makes it anywhere down the road. But for our school, we really have tried to become the standard. Like that was our goal opening it up. Is like we really wanted to raise the standard on DJ education, and it shouldn't be something that's everything that you guys are saying from both sides are totally legit. And for us, all I knew was like, I know when someone graduates from fucking UCLA or Yale or some shit, they're like, that shit's on their license plate. It's fucking, I'm wearing a t-shirt. Like I'm part of the booster club. I'm going, I haven't been to school in 10 years. I'm going to the football game. Like
that of the alumni, UCLA.
I mean, like it's a whole other thing. It's like almost a cult kind of thing. And I feel like, that's what we've been trying to develop, because, our alumni program we have now, like they're amazing. What they do for the school, what they do to help us spread the word. And that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of times I can think of like 10 students right now who are going on being 3 years with us and are like dying to learn more and do more. So, we really are proud of what we built, and I'm more proud of the community, if anything. That's what really drives us.
It's interesting too, because like 70% of your students are like female.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's amazing, man. Like fellas, we got to step it up. These ladies are just built for DJing.
They're too pride, man. They're too much prideful for the dudes to join that shit.
It's just a simple example. Like, when I have my beginner classes, it's like if I see a guy student struggling with something, I might have to tell him 10 times the correction. I tell a female student once.
She got it.
Boom. Got it.
There's so much ego with men.
But that's the thing. Like, I'm okay being not knowing. I don't think a lot of people are like that.
Yeah, it's tough. Even like, I've even like, we run multiple businesses, like even the podcast stuff that we deal with, and sometimes we do freelance hire work and everything. It's like, so I got to break through this like ego with men. Whenever I work with them, it's like we can't really collaborate. It's like, whose idea was it? It's like, where did the idea come from?
Who's right? Who's wrong?
Why you keep correcting me? Why isn't it good the first time? And it's just like, yo, fam, like we're working together.
We got the same goal.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck if it's your idea. I don't give a fuck who the fuck it is. Let's just make it dope. And it really just becomes like, oh, Crooked against me or me against him, or who's the person like pushing everything forward. And I'm just like, this is not it.
For sure.
Yeah, and in my past businesses, when I hire women, they're just kind of,
they're quick.
For sure.
They're just they take direction and they execute without question. Whereas like with men, it's like you got to break through this ego first and find a common ground or something.
To be fair, I've seen it from both genders. You know what I'm saying? Like there's, I think the data will probably show women being the more cooperative, or the ones who are easier to work with. But I've seen examples from both, and I think it when it comes down to an individual, you got to be more concerned about the results.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, you know what I mean? Without like, being fucking, not fucking honest or some shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I can't say enough about the female part of our student body. It blows me away still, and that has a lot to do with.
I think they're called Lady of Sound or something.
That's the community within the community that the principal Maricel built, and it's just a place to make our females feel safe and included, because DJing is such a male dominated field, and it's something we put a priority on in the beginning. And because I'll be honest with you too, guys, women spend money, and women are willing to pay for these classes,
and dudes don't.
And God, I have so many female students who are just flourishing now after being in the program. Like, I'm like blown away.
Yeah. I've noticed, like, I've seen a lot more women coming from your school that are doing amazing shit. They're like killing it.
We're so proud of all of them. We're proud of all of our students. But that's the biggest thing about the experience at the school, like I said, is we really try to just not be corny, guys. I mean, at the end of the day, like, everything we teach is solid, and we're not over here like expecting everyone to enter DMC. That's not it. Do we have that? Yeah, but there's a real practical side of what we teach, being that, one, we're running a business, and two, we have to pay attention to the landscape and what's going on in DJing and what's really happening. So for us, we really put emphasis on every student coming in here and feeling seen, feeling heard, accomplishing personal goals. Yeah, man, it's just an amazing thing. I still can't believe it's real sometimes, man. It's just,
for sure, man.
I mean, such an amazing experience we've had.
Babu, thank you so much for coming through.
Thank you, guys.
It's really an honor to have you here.
No, the honor's all mine. Guys, like I said, these conversations you guys have been really impacting guys on DJ culture, and I wish you guys the best moving forward. Continue to 1,000 more episodes and more spreading the good word, and thank you guys for having me.
No, we appreciate it.
Honored.
Yo, big shout to Babu. Thank you for coming through. We also want to give a big shout to all our Patreon members, all our roadies for life. Thank you so much for supporting us and getting us through for our first Patreon.
I know, man. It's been a great run with Patreon.
So we appreciate y'all, and we'll one day I think we'll do like an event at the Beat Junkies.
Yeah,
you heard it here. You heard them say it first.
Yeah, we will. We did the NAMM thing, and that was mad fun. I mean, you got flamed up, but they love me. So
that was amazing. That was amazing.
Honestly, one of the funnest things we've done, and whenever we can, come to the school and just chop it up, do a live event. I mean.
R.O.A.D podcast live from BJIOS, y'all.
But just don't make it scratch, because we're not the best.
Oh no, we're talking shit. We're talking shit. We have some nice special guests, and then we'll cut it up.
Yeah, no, those little superhumans will school the shit out of us, so we're good.
Babu, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Peace.
If you want to watch more episodes from R.O.A.D Podcast, click either links on the left or the right. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube page and get updated on new uploads throughout the week. Peace.